What if you lost all your memories tomorrow? Not through Alzheimer's, not through old age, but through a single accident. One moment of impact that erases everything that makes you, you. Your first kiss, your mother's face, the sound of your own name, gone. This is the fear that haunts us at night, the terror we don't speak about. Because if memories can vanish, if the self can be deleted, then what are we really? Just biological hard drives waiting to crash? But here's what no one tells you. Scientists spent decades trying to find where your memories live. They mapped the brain, they cut it, they shocked it with electricity. They were certain, absolutely certain, they'd find the vault, the filing cabinet, the exact location where you are stored. And they found nothing. Not because memories don't exist, but because they discovered something so radical, so elegant, so stunning that it changed everything we thought we knew about consciousness itself. Your brain doesn't work like a computer. It doesn't have a hard drive with folders labeled childhood and yesterday. It works like something far more profound, a hologram. Let me explain what that means, and I want you to really hear this, because once you understand this, you'll never look at your own mind the same way again. You'll never fear losing yourself the same way again, and you'll start to glimpse something extraordinary about the nature of reality itself. But first, we need to go back to the moment when science tried to solve the mystery of memory and failed spectacularly. Ready to go deeper? Let's dive in. It's the 1940s. A brilliant neurosurgeon named Wilder Penfield is doing something extraordinary. He's performing brain surgery on conscious patients, and he's using electrical probes to map the brain in real time. When he touches certain spots with electricity, something stunning happens. A patient suddenly smells her grandmother's perfume. Another hears a specific song from childhood. A third sees a vivid memory of a birthday party from 20 years ago, complete with the taste of chocolate cake and the sound of laughter. Penfield is convinced he's found it, the engram, the physical trace of memory. He believes each memory is stored in a specific location, like a book on a specific shelf in a library. And for a while, everyone believes him. But here's where it gets interesting. Another scientist, Carl Lashley, isn't so sure, because Lashley is doing his own experiments, and what he's discovering doesn't make any sense. He trains rats to run through mazes. These rats learn complex patterns: left turn, right turn, straight, left again. They master it. The memory is clearly there. Then Lashley does something radical. He starts removing parts of their brains, first small sections. The rats still remember the maze. Okay, maybe the memory is stored elsewhere, so he removes more. Still, the rats remember. He removes even more. 20% of the cortex, 30%, 50%. The rats keep remembering. Here's where most people would stop. But Lashley doesn't stop. He keeps going. He removes 60%, 70%, 80%, and here's the kicker. The rats still run the maze correctly, not perfectly. Their performance degrades, but they don't forget the pattern. They don't lose specific memories. It's like the memory gets fuzzier, but it never disappears completely. Lashley is baffled. He spends 30 years searching for the engram, the location of memory. And after 3 decades of cutting, probing, and testing, he makes a stunning confession. He writes, "I sometimes feel that the necessary conclusion is that learning is just not possible at all." Think about that. 30 years of research, and his conclusion is that memory storage, as we understand it, shouldn't even be possible, because memories aren't where we think they are. They're not in the hippocampus, not in the cortex, not in any single location. So where are they? This is the question that haunted neuroscience for decades. This is the mystery that seemed impossible to solve. Until one physicist looked at the problem from a completely different angle. Shall we move into the next layer? Let me tell you what Lashley's experiments really meant, because on the surface it sounds impossible. It sounds like bad science. How can you remove 90% of a rat's brain and have it still remember anything? But here's what's profound about this. The memory didn't just survive, it degraded proportionally, not selectively. Let me break that down. When Lashley removed 10% of the brain, the rats performed at 90% accuracy. Remove 20%, they performed at 80%. Remove 50%, 50% accuracy. It wasn't like some memories vanished while others remained crystal clear. It was like the entire memory became slightly less vivid, slightly less precise, but still there, still accessible, still functional. This is where most people miss the significance. If memory was stored in specific locations, like files on a hard drive, then removing parts of the brain should delete specific memories completely. You'd lose your 7th birthday but keep your 8th. You'd lose the word elephant but remember rhinoceros. But that's not what happened. Instead, all memories faded equally, like turning down the resolution on a photograph rather than erasing random pixels. And here's where it gets even stranger. Other researchers started finding similar patterns with vision. They could remove 90% of a cat's visual cortex, the part of the brain supposedly dedicated to processing sight, and the cat could still perform complex visual tasks. Not perfectly, but functionally. They could cut 98% of the optic nerve, the cable that connects the eye to the brain, and the animal could still see. Not as clearly, but still see. This shouldn't be possible. According to everything we knew about how brains work, this defies logic. It's like removing 90% of a computer's hard drive and expecting all the files to still open, just a bit slower. But here's the thing most people don't realize. The brain isn't a computer. It's not a filing cabinet. It's not a library with books on shelves. It's something far more elegant, far more sophisticated, far more holographic. And when Carl Pribram, a neuroscientist who studied under Lashley, realized this, it changed everything. Because Pribram understood something crucial. He understood that there was already a technology in the world that worked exactly like this. A technology where every piece contains the whole, where you can remove 90% and still have the complete image, just less clear. That technology? A hologram. And when Pribram applied holographic principles to the brain, suddenly everything made sense. The mystery that had haunted neuroscience for decades, solved. But before I explain how your brain creates holograms internally, you need to understand what a hologram actually is, because I promise you, it's far stranger and more beautiful than you think. Ready to go deeper? Here's what you've been told about memory. You experience something. Your brain encodes it. The encoding gets stored somewhere specific. Later, you retrieve it from that location. Simple, linear, makes perfect sense, except it's completely wrong. Because if that's how it works, then Lashley's rats should have forgotten the maze the moment he removed the maze memory region. Penfield's patients should have lost specific memories when he removed specific brain tissue. But they didn't. So we're left with an impossible question. One that sounds almost mystical, almost absurd. Where are your memories? Not in your hippocampus, though it helps form them. Not in your cortex, though it helps process them. Not in any single neuron or cluster of neurons. Then where? Here's the answer that no one wants to hear. The answer that sounds too simple to be true. The answer that, once you understand it, changes everything about how you see yourself in reality. Your memories are everywhere and nowhere. They're distributed, holographic, wave-like. And before you think I've lost my mind, before you dismiss this as pseudoscience or mysticism, let me show you the physics. Let me show you why some of the most respected neuroscientists in the world embrace this model. Let me show you what a hologram actually is, and why your brain might be the most sophisticated holographic system in the known universe. Because here's the paradox. The more you understand about how holograms work, the more you realize. This isn't just a metaphor. This is the actual mechanism, the real deal, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Shall we dive into the science? Let's explore exactly what makes a hologram. A hologram. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a photograph of an apple. Now imagine cutting that photograph in half. What do you see? Half an apple on each piece, right? Cut it into quarters. You get 4 pieces, each showing a quarter of the apple. Logical, predictable. This is how normal images work. Now let me tell you about holograms. A hologram is created using laser light. Here's how it works. And I want you to really pay attention to this because it's going to blow your mind in a minute. You take a laser beam and split it into two beams. One beam, let's call it the reference beam, goes straight to a photographic plate. The other beam, the object beam, bounces off the object you're photographing. Let's say it's that same apple. Now here's where it gets interesting. When the object beam bounces off the apple, it carries information about the apple's shape, depth, texture, everything. This beam then meets the reference beam at the photographic plate, and they create an interference pattern. Not a picture of an apple, not a clear image. You get what looks like random chaotic squiggles, meaningless waves overlapping waves like ripples on a pond when two stones are thrown in simultaneously. But here's the magic. When you shine a laser through this seemingly random pattern, a three-dimensional image of the apple appears. You can walk around it, view it from different angles. It looks solid, real, three-dimensional, already stunning, right? But now comes the part that changes everything. If you cut that holographic plate in half and shine a laser through just one half, you don't get half an apple. You get the entire apple, slightly less clear, slightly less sharp, but complete. Cut it in half again. You still get the whole apple. Cut it into 100 pieces. Each piece, no matter how small, contains the entire image of the apple. Every part contains the whole. This is not magic. This is physics. This is math. This is how wave interference patterns work, and this is exactly what Lashley was seeing in his rats. Remove 10% of the brain, the memory gets 10% less clear. Remove 50% less clear, but the whole memory is still there, still accessible, still functional. Because if the brain stores memories holographically, as interference patterns of neural waves rather than as localized engrams, then Lashley's results aren't impossible. They're inevitable. And when Carl Pribram realized this, when he connected holographic principles to brain function, he didn't just solve the mystery of memory. He opened a door to understanding consciousness itself. But here's what nobody talks about. Here's the part that makes this truly revolutionary. If your brain is holographic, then what does that mean about reality? About consciousness, about the nature of existence itself? Let's go deeper. Carl Pribram was no fringe scientist. He was a neurosurgeon, a professor at Stanford, a serious academic with credentials that command respect. And when he proposed that the brain operates holographically, he wasn't speaking metaphorically. He meant it literally. Here's his theory, and I want you to hear this carefully because it's both simple and profound. The brain doesn't store memories as fixed traces in fixed locations. It stores them as wave interference patterns distributed throughout the neural network. Let me break that down. Your neurons, your brain cells, communicate through electrical impulses. These impulses travel through your brain like waves, and here's what's crucial. When waves meet, they interfere with each other. Think about dropping two stones in a pond simultaneously. The ripples spread out. Where they meet, they create a complex pattern. Some waves amplify each other. Others cancel out. The result is an interference pattern unique to those specific stones at those specific locations. Your brain does this constantly. Millions of neurons firing simultaneously. Billions of waves interfering with each other, creating interference patterns of staggering complexity. And according to Pribram, these patterns are your memories, not stored in the hippocampus alone, not filed away in the cortex, but distributed throughout the entire neural network as wave patterns. This explains everything Lashley found. If memories are wave patterns distributed throughout the brain, then removing part of the brain doesn't delete specific memories. It just makes the overall pattern less sharp, less defined, like reducing the resolution of the interference pattern. But Pribram didn't stop there. He applied this to vision, to sensory processing, to consciousness itself. He found that the visual cortex, the part of your brain that processes what you see, doesn't create a one-to-one map of the visual field. It doesn't work like a camera sensor where each point corresponds to a specific location in space. Instead, it processes visual information through frequency analysis, through wave patterns, through holographic principles. This is why you can remove 90% of a rat's visual cortex and it can still see. The visual information isn't localized, it's distributed. Holographic, and here's where it gets truly stunning. If your brain processes information holographically, then what you experience as reality, what you see, hear, feel, remember, isn't a direct representation of the external world. It's a reconstruction, a holographic projection created by your brain from wave interference patterns. You're not experiencing reality directly. You're experiencing a holographic translation of wave frequencies into the rich, vivid, three-dimensional experience you call consciousness. Let me say that again because it's profound. Your entire experienced reality, everything you see, touch, hear, remember, is a hologram generated by your brain, not in a metaphorical sense, in a literal, physical, scientific sense. But here's my question for you. If this is true, if your brain really does work holographically, then what evidence would we expect to find? Let's look at the data. The evidence is stunning, and most people have no idea it exists. Let's start with memory. Patients with massive brain damage, strokes, tumors, traumatic injuries rarely lose specific memories cleanly. They don't forget Tuesday but remember Monday. They don't lose the word cat but keep dog. Instead, their memories become globally fuzzier, less sharp, less detailed, but rarely completely gone. This matches holographic prediction perfectly. Now, vision. Experiments on cats, rats, and monkeys consistently show that removing large portions of visual cortex doesn't create blind spots corresponding to specific regions of the visual field. Instead, the entire visual field becomes less sharp, less detailed. Again, holographic behavior. But here's where it gets really interesting. You can cut 98% of the optic nerve fibers connecting the eye to the brain. 98%. And the animal can still perform complex visual discrimination tasks. How? According to traditional neuroscience, this is impossible. You've cut nearly all the cables, the signal should be dead. But according to holographic theory, it makes perfect sense. Because the information isn't traveling through individual nerve fibers like data through separate wires. It's traveling as wave patterns, and wave patterns are robust, redundant, distributed. Even with massive damage, enough of the pattern remains to reconstruct the image. And then there's the most shocking evidence of all. People with half their brain removed, literally removed, through a surgery called hemispherectomy, can live remarkably normal lives. They don't lose half their memories. They don't become half-conscious. They remain whole, complete, functional. Less sharp in some areas, yes, but fundamentally intact. This is the signature of holographic storage, every part containing the whole. But now comes the question that changes everything. The question that moves this from neuroscience into something far more profound. If the brain works holographically, how exactly does it create these interference patterns? What's the mechanism? Let's dive into the quantum level. Here's what's happening in your brain right now. Right this moment as you hear these words, billions of neurons firing, each one sending electrical impulses that ripple through the neural network like waves through water. But here's what most people don't realize. These neurons are packed incredibly close together. The space between them is measured in nanometers. At that scale, the electrical fields from one neuron overlap with the fields from surrounding neurons. When waves overlap, they interfere. This creates complex interference patterns throughout your brain. Patterns that encode information not in the firing of individual neurons, but in the relationships between firing neurons. In the wave patterns they create together. This is how the hologram forms, not through individual neurons acting as storage units, but through the collective interference patterns of millions of neurons firing in concert. And here's the kicker. These patterns are dynamic. They shift, they flow, they reconfigure themselves constantly based on new input, new experiences, new thoughts. Your brain isn't a static hologram. It's a living, dynamic, constantly shifting holographic field. This explains something that has baffled neuroscientists for decades. How can you have new thoughts? How can you imagine things you've never experienced? How can you create novel ideas from existing memories? Because holographic systems can do something extraordinary. They can superimpose multiple patterns on top of each other. They can blend, they can merge, they can create new patterns from old ones. Your imagination isn't separate from your memory. It's your memory system operating in generative mode, creating new interference patterns from existing ones. You're not just storing information holographically, you're processing it holographically, thinking holographically, experiencing holographically. And if this is true, then what does it mean about who you are? What does it mean about consciousness? What does it mean about reality itself? Ready for the revelation? Let's go to the deepest level. Here's the truth they don't tell you. Your brain is a holographic system processing a holographic universe. Let me explain what that means, because this is where science and spirituality collide in the most elegant way possible. If your brain processes information holographically, converting wave frequencies into experienced reality, then what are you actually experiencing? You think you're seeing this screen, hearing these words, feeling the chair beneath you. But according to holographic brain theory, you're not experiencing those things directly. You're experiencing your brain's holographic reconstruction of wave frequencies, the realness you feel, the solidity, the color, the texture, all generated internally, all holographic projections. Now here's where it gets truly profound. Physicist David Bohm, one of the most brilliant quantum physicists of the 20th century, proposed that the universe itself might be holographic, that physical reality as we experience it might be a projection from a deeper, more fundamental level he called the implicate order. And when Pribram met Bohm, something extraordinary happened. Two brilliant minds from completely different fields, neuroscience and quantum physics, discovered they'd arrived at the same conclusion from opposite directions. Pribram from studying the brain, Bohm from studying subatomic particles. Both concluded, reality is holographic. Think about what this means. If the universe is holographic and your brain processes holographically, then you're not separate from reality. You're not an observer looking at an external world. You're a holographic fragment of a holographic universe experiencing itself. Every part containing the whole. This isn't poetry. This isn't metaphor. This is the mathematical conclusion of combining quantum physics with neuroscience. And it explains something that materialist science has never been able to explain. How can consciousness exist? How can subjective experience emerge from objective matter? It can't, if matter is fundamental. But if both matter and consciousness are projections from a deeper holographic field, then the mystery dissolves. Consciousness isn't generated by the brain. It's filtered through the brain. The brain is a receiver, a transducer, a holographic lens focusing universal consciousness into individual awareness. You're not your brain. You're what your brain is doing. You're the pattern, the process, the holographic interference itself. And here's the most stunning implication of all. If reality is holographic, then the boundaries you think exist between you and others, between mind and matter, between past and future, those boundaries are artifacts of the holographic projection. At the deeper level, the implicate order, everything is interconnected, unified, whole. This is why synchronicity happens. This is why intuition works. This is why meditation can reveal truths that logic cannot touch. Because you're not separate from the universe. You're a holographic fragment containing the pattern of the whole. And when you align with that pattern, when you tune your personal hologram to the universal hologram, extraordinary things become possible. But what does this mean practically? How do you actually use this understanding? Let's get specific. So here's my question for you. If your brain is holographic, if your memories aren't stored in specific locations but distributed throughout your entire neural network, what does that mean for your fear of losing yourself? Let me tell you something most neuroscientists won't say directly, but the research clearly shows you are far more durable than you think. Your memories aren't fragile files on a hard drive waiting to be deleted. They're wave patterns distributed holographically throughout your entire brain. They're robust, redundant, resilient. This is why people with massive brain injuries can recover memories that seemed lost. Why Alzheimer's patients sometimes have moments of startling clarity. Why even severe trauma rarely erases the self completely. Because the self isn't localized, it's distributed. Holographic. You can damage the system. You can reduce the clarity. but you cannot easily delete the pattern. Does this mean memory loss isn't real? Number, does this mean Alzheimer's isn't devastating? Absolutely not. But it does mean this. The essence of who you are, your core patterns, your fundamental self, is far more resilient than neuroscience has led you to believe. Now here's the second implication, and this one is radical. If your brain processes reality holographically, if what you experience is a reconstruction from wave frequencies, then changing your internal patterns changes your experienced reality. Not metaphorically, literally. When you shift your thoughts, your emotions, your focus, you're not just thinking positive, you're reconfiguring the holographic interference patterns in your brain. You're literally changing the hologram you're experiencing as reality. This is why meditation works, why visualization works, why focus and attention are so powerful. You're not trying to change an external, objective reality that exists independent of you. You're changing the holographic projection that is your experience of reality. And because you're a holographic fragment of a holographic universe, those internal changes ripple outward. They affect the larger pattern. This is the mechanism behind manifestation, behind synchronicity, behind what seems like magic but is actually holographic coherence. When your internal pattern aligns with the universal pattern, reality responds. Not because the universe is granting wishes, but because you and the universe are part of the same holographic system. You're not separate from what you're trying to manifest. You're already holographically connected to it. The question is whether your internal pattern matches it. And here's where most people get stuck. Here's where the teaching goes wrong. They try to force the external reality to match their desires, but that's backwards. The holographic model says, change your internal interference pattern, align with the frequency you want to experience, and the holographic projection, what you call reality, will reflect that pattern. Not because you're controlling reality, but because you are reality experiencing itself holographically. Does this sound too abstract, too mystical? Let me give you something concrete. Here's what this means spiritually. Every wisdom tradition, Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, Christian mysticism, speaks about the illusion of separation, the unity of all things, the idea that you are not separate from the universe but an expression of it. For thousands of years, this was faith, poetry, metaphor. Now it's physics. The holographic model provides a scientific framework for understanding what mystics have been saying for millennia. You are a holographic fragment of infinite consciousness, every part containing the whole, every individual containing the universe. This is why meditation works. You're not trying to escape your mind, you're tuning into the deeper holographic field from which your mind emerges. This is why synchronicity happens. You're not separate from events happening out there. You're holographically connected to them at the implicate level. This is why intuition exists. You're not receiving random guesses. You're accessing information that's already holographically present in your neural field. And this is why manifestation, real manifestation, not wishful thinking, actually works. When you align your internal hologram with what you want to experience, you're not bending reality to your will. You're tuning into a pattern that already exists in the holographic field and allowing it to express through you. The universe isn't granting your wishes. The universe is you experiencing a different configuration of itself. This is profound. This changes everything because it means you're not powerless. But you're also not in control. You're something far more interesting. You're a creative node in a holographic network, influencing and being influenced, creating and being created, an eternal dance of pattern and possibility. And when you understand this, when you really get it, fear dissolves. Because you realize you cannot be destroyed, you cannot be erased. You can change form, you can change pattern, but the holographic field that you are, that's eternal. So where do we go from here? Let me bring this home. Your brain is not a computer. Your memories are not files. Your consciousness is not software running on biological hardware. You are a holographic system processing a holographic universe. Every part of you contains the pattern of the whole. Every moment you experience is a reconstruction from deeper wave frequencies. Every thought you think reconfigures the holographic field you inhabit. This is not metaphor. This is not mysticism dressed as science. This is the logical conclusion of combining neuroscience with quantum physics. And it changes everything. It changes how you think about memory, about consciousness, about who you are. It changes how you approach manifestation, because you're not trying to force reality to comply. You're aligning your pattern with the pattern you want to experience. It changes how you see yourself in relation to the universe. Because you're not separate from it. You're a holographic expression of it. But here's the thing. What I've shown you today is just the beginning. This is the first video in a series called Beyond Reality. Because once you understand that your brain is holographic, the mysteries start making sense. The impossible becomes possible. In the next video, Beyond Reality number 2, I'm going to show you the evidence that sounds like science fiction but isn't. Scientists who literally scrambled animal brains and the animals still functioned normally. The mathematics your brain uses to translate frequency into reality. And why you can store a lifetime of memories in a space that shouldn't be able to hold them. So here's my invitation. If this resonates, if you feel something shifting, hit that subscribe button. Because we're just beginning. Drop one word in the comments that captures what you're feeling right now. Just one word. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share this with them. Because this isn't just information, this is transformation. You are holographic, you are infinite. You are far more than you've been taught to believe. And now you know why. Welcome to Beyond Reality. I'll see you in the next one.